credit. Snake with his staff, every paragraph medic. So bomb babs cause of athletic. About to hit the track with a last embedded. Shorty got blood like a QB of Bravo. City boys caught that, QB the shot. Put them on track so she wanna hop top. Told me don't worry, she can ride properly. Nothing this girl wanna give me the thought. See how I'm about mine and I'm so low. From behind I can find in the chokehold. Bloodline like the boy mafioso. Always been Jody, listening to the wire. Looking for Josie in a pussy cat posse. I'm pussy foot down, giving no vibe. No, I just want the bodies, do it like pop. Give me used to see Poppy and my Charles Barkley. They all said I'm crazy, little Nas Barkley. I was born Pisces, right where the sharks be. So I skipped Shark Tank, use my own mouth, to my own taxes. Submitted the copies, use big words. Some say that it's not. With a pop as if somebody shot me. Blue blocks and some sweats and Harachis. Jimmy B so on grind on the daily. Gave time and you when it didn't pay me. Got 'em online betting on that horse number 4, baby. Now I'm me at the gateway. Yeah, what you thought? Can't nobody stop me. Look at what I bought. Man, why you watch me? I just left the store without doing the robberies. I'm tryna cop block. Boy, get yourself a job. Get you kid what you thought. Can't nobody stop me. Look at what I bought. Man, why you watch me? I just left the store without doing the robberies. I'm tryna cop block me and get yourself a jockey. Welcome to America. We let the roads drive. Connect in the bees with a honey mine high. When I'm leaving the country, I'm fine. When I Wi-Fi the money high five. Cause when you with a chick like her, drop crime. Losing her is the only way I drop down. Been waiting in the splurge off. See more bird off. Desire burn and the shot is like snurring off. Confident, climbing the sheets with a shirt off. Saddle before she get the spurs in her horse. Winning game, search for the name. It's heard of. Hers all sweet, caught a key when we heard one. See me getting there to a slow jam. Enough of that, you can tell why I go hands. Oh Lord, swing a sword like Conan. Holding on to her buns with both hands. Yeah, what you thought? Can't nobody stop. Look at what I bought. Man, why you watch me? I just left the store without doing the robberies. I'm tryna cop block. Get yourself a job. Yeah, what you thought? Can't nobody stop me. Look at what I bought. Man, why you watch me? I just left the store without doing the robberies. I'm tryna cop block. Get yourself a job.
Alright, y'all, what's going on? So I said I'd be back, and I will, with the third installment of Decanates and how it applies to a simulation. I'm going to do it for the fire signs. I figured do it for the fire signs because a lot of the times, right, like I simplify the astrological wheel by speaking about, how it goes in order, Aries to Taurus, etc., etc. So it'll be a simplified way to actually do this element. And a lot of the times I do things for the water element anyway. Like if you look on the channel, there's more water stuff than anything. So y'all gotta like listen to that too, right? Especially Pisces. Like I'm constantly doing videos about Pisces. Not saying that I should tone it down either, but you get what I'm saying, right? So to bring more balance in the simplified things, why not talk about the Aries and the Leo and the Sagittarius? So let me refresh the memory for people who may have not seen the other two videos. We're talking about decanates now. So, and how they are played out for people to see as a simulation, depending if you can fathom that or not, right? So first, let me explain these things so that, just in case you don't have the education on it, you'll be better equipped to understand what it is that I'm about to talk about, so we'll all be on the same page, right? So decanates, there's 30 degrees in each sign. So it's also split into 3 different sectors, 10 degrees allocated to each sector. And the reason why it's split into 3 sectors is because there are 3 signs to each element: water, fire, air, and earth. Okay, so within each sign, there are influences that are associated with the other sign of the elements. So whatever element you are, whether it's water, air, earth, fire, you have the influences of your other signs that are part of your element inside of that sign, inside of your sign. Like I said before in other videos, you may be conflicted by this. You may have certain quarrels with different signs of your same element, right? Same quality. And unbeknownst, you still have these influences inside of your own sign. So I'm going to break it down, and you'll be able to better understand it. And when you reflect on life and you reflect on your experiences, you'll be able to see it too. You might want to deny it, but this is just some stuff that's undeniable, man. So when we're talking about Aries, we're going to talk about how these degrees get allocated, right? So with Aries, the first 10 degrees of every sign gets allocated to that actual sign. So if we start with Aries, which is the first sign on the zodiac wheel, first 10 degrees goes to that sign, Aries. Second 10 degrees is going to go to Leo, because Leo is the fifth sign, which is the next fire sign inside of the astrological wheel. The third 10 degrees, the last 10 degrees, goes to Sagittarius, which is the last fire sign inside of the astrological wheel. Now, another emphasis, a point of emphasis that I need to make in this video is that the higher the degrees inside of each sign is where the maturity resides in each sign. So for Aries, it will be Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is the last 10 degrees of that sign. So although you're in Aries, and this applies to everything that is Aries in your chart, by the way, whether it's in the third house, fourth house, fifth house, sixth house, etc. Just all you got to do is add the functions of that house to the things that I'm explaining right now. But the maturity resides in Sagittarius, right? So it's like this. You may be the baby of the zodiac. You may like to start a lot of things and don't necessarily have to finish them, because you are the fire starter. That's your job, to get things going, to get things initiated. And you don't have to do that by law, right? By universal law as an Aries. Or, just entrepreneurial projects, whatever the case may be. You may just leave it at that, right? However, there are next levels to this thing for you to be able to mature to the point of developing yourself to that you become the optimal Aries. That's pretty much what I'm saying. Now, before I get too deep into this, right, I want to also explain, because I'm not sure if I made this point in the prior videos, but I want to make this point, right, is that if you're a Leo, these things applies the same way. Just because you're a Leo doesn't mean that the maturity of a Leo is found in Sagittarius. It's not. It's actually found in Aries, right? So I don't want you guys to be discouraged because you find out you're in Aries and your maturity resides inside of Sagittarius. Like, another fire sign's maturity is going to reside in your sign as well. And this goes with earth, air, water, the same. Right? So don't be discouraged or feel like this is an uneven pitch or, the universe did you wrong. Like, no, this is very equal. There's a lot of equality going on here, is pretty much what I'm saying. All right. So, but look, let's check it out. Right. So I can give you an example. Right. Like, I don't know if y'all, well, in New York, there's this place called CEO. I believe it's still around. I would hope it's still around, because I think it's a great company. At least it's a great idea. What it does is, right, it's this cop. Because Aries, a lot of the Aries become cops, whether they're military, security guards, you name it. A lot of physical contact work is what Aries takes on, right? So it's this cop, and I don't even recall if the guy has an Aries or not. I don't know. But this is a great example, I figured, to explain this. There's this cop who he retired, and when he retired, he went inside of the prisons, and he made an LLC to hire prisoners when they first get out of prison, right? So, and I can recall when I first began going to prison, like, this type of program was not available. Nothing like it. So later on in life, when I went back to prison again, I could talk about these things, but later on when I went back to prison again, and I seen that there was like this program inside of the prison that reached out to the dorms in Rikers Island, and would just come to people and say, we're looking for men who are on their way home, who are short on their time, and, we want to get them involved in this program, get their information and stuff like that, because we have this establishment outside in the city that actually hires these guys right on the spot. Like, soon as you get out, you get the first day out, you get work. So I'm skeptical. I'm like, no way. Like, who does this? You know what I'm saying? Come to find out, this is this cop dude who created this company. So I take it on. I say, all right, sign me up. So I go out there and I take on the job, right? And I do it. It's a great job. They actually kept their word. You get work every day. I mean, about 4 days out of the week, and if you're lucky, you get 5 days. You know what I'm saying? So it was substantial for a person that's coming home from prison, and you don't know this. You get what I'm saying, right? It's the potential to get back into the pitfalls and do the things that you used to do, or do the things that landed you there. Depending on what you're there for, you might be there for parking tickets, right? So I'm not just saying everybody was out there selling crack and everything, but you get what I'm saying. What this cop did was become an entrepreneur to the level of being iconic. So before I even met him personally, like, his name was ringing bells first in the jail, through the social workers who were actually speaking about this, because part of it came that they had to pitch it to us and influence us to the point where we actually go for it. So his name would come up in those types of conversations. When we got to the actual office, his buddies, his people that he hired, they would talk about him. So what I'm saying here is this is the Aries part of the chart going into the next 10 degrees of the chart, which would be more Leo-like. So the reason why I'm saying this is because he became like a superstar. So the Aries, and wherever Aries is in your chart, will get things moving and will get things started. It will initiate what needs to be began. However, if it doesn't go to the next level, which says, okay, we're going to put some glow on this to the point where, yes, it's going to be known. So even if you're more the discreet type, maybe you got some 12th house, 8th house influences, you don't really want to be out there like that, whatever the case may be, this part of the sign says, think about it again. You may want to think again. You got to be known to some degree. You got to develop some Leo characteristics about this and have fun while you're doing it. It doesn't have to be so serious. You don't have to be angry about this. Laugh and smile when you're doing it, right? You don't have to necessarily drill it home. You can be competitive still and everything, because there's not much of a difference when it comes to being competitive, between Aries and Leo. They both like that type of challenge. So, but it's like, okay, become a sports star now, or become a rock star now. Like, this is your time to get in the limelight and do this. Not only that, you have to be fixed when doing it, right? So you can't just start something off in the beginning of things. You have to get into it, and once that light clicks on to where it's like all eyes on you, or the focus is at least put on you to where you're at the forefront of this thing, you have to wear it. You have to wear it like a badge. You have to wear it. You have to be known. You have to carry the flag, or even if it's just a name stamp or whatever, it's a logo. It has to be known, and it has to be fixed so it can be established. You can't just keep drilling and starting up new projects. No. Aries, stick to this one thing right here and glow it. Make it shine. Let it known that it's yours. Let it be known that it's yours. It doesn't mean that you can't put other people on and stuff like that. Because what tends to happen when these things occur is that you can't help but put other people on anyway, or whether it's through networking establishments or whatever the case may be, right? Because when you get into entrepreneurship, a lot of things become B2B at that point. So it's more like, okay, you do a business or you want my service, so we communicate on that type of level at this point, this transitioning point that I'm talking about with the fire sign, right? It's not more like just a personal thing, like, oh yeah, we're going to the paint and sip gallery across the street. Are you coming? Like, no, that's just like textbook, neighborhood stuff, associate, acquaintance type stuff. No, I'm talking about entrepreneurship, right? Because not for nothing, whether you know it or not, Leos buy the most things in the world. They spend the quickest in the world, should I say. Let me make sure I got that information right. They spend the quickest out of all of the signs in the world, in the universe. So with that being said, you got to have a type of drive that enables that to happen, right or wrong. So the more that you stay fixed in this element, the more that you're able to generate that. It's like the sun burns brighter, So what it does is it attracts more, because more people get to see, and it's just like, oh, it gravitates people towards it. And what this happens is it just generates revenue because of that. Like, if you think about it as like, if you throw You're at a festival. You're throwing some type of festival of some sort, right? You got all of the food that's going to be sold there. You got all of the games that's going to be played there, which also costs money. You got all of the merchandise that's going to be there, which also costs money, right? You might even sell tickets at the door for people to get in, right? All of this type of revenue is generated because it's like whatever the fair is called, right? It's like the big fair is coming to town, and then like the whole community is coming to it because it's that big. It's glowing up, right? You might have some type of entertainment at this event that celebrates or grows this type of population that's going to come there, right? The audience that's going to come there. So this is even more money, and it's just more and more, burns brighter, more and more, right? So a lot of people can get paid in this process. Whoever the vendors are at this event is going to get paid at this process. So it's very economic, right? And it's entertaining at the same time. So it's not just something that you start anymore, Aries. It's something that you stay fixed in, right? So this is what happens. Once you establish yourself in that fixed place, right? Because I know some of you Aries are probably watching at home and you're like, okay, I can't be stuck in this place. You might just be raging right now. Like, I do get out of this spot, right? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because the highest part of growing at this point is going to be when you get to the Sagittarius level of it. So what you're going to do from being in this area for so long that it's fixed and not able to escape from it, Aries, not able to dart onto something else, is you're going to find a spirituality that's attached to this implementation that you've created here. And it's the type that's going to say, well, you know what? This was all worth it. It was all worth the journey. So, sometimes when I say like in public videos that I made before, like when you go through the astrological wheel and Aries is first and then it hits Taurus, right? And then it just must be like a real nerve wrecker for Aries, because it's like, here you are darting out of the gate like the gun just got shot for the race to begin, right? And then you run right smack into Taurus, which slows everything down, and it's like talking about this plan and everything, and Aries is just like, yo, I just got started. Like, I just darted out of the gate. Why would you put a hurdle here, right? It's like running a hurdle race. Why would you put a hurdle here? Like, what part of the game is this? And it's just like, listen, because we got to get some things established so that you're fixed, so that you can graduate to the next level, is when you communicate these actual desires that you have, or else you're just going to be running through hellfire with gasoline drawers on without any type of real wired direction, right? And it makes sense, but it also is very contradictory to Aries being the fire starter and then having to be slowing down and stopping for what it is, whatever a bigger picture thing it is, when this is a solo act. You understand what I'm saying? Later on in life, which is what's going to happen, is you're going to understand your leadership qualities for what they really are when you reach this Sagittarius part of the chart. Because Sagittarius gets the leader thing too. All fire signs get leadership attached to their descriptions, right or wrong. But it's when you get to the Sagittarius part of being a leader, it's that you reach this spiritual point to where you say, okay, I'm done with the whole fixed thing, right? Because it's all bogged down. It kind of weighed me down a bit. I've learned a lot of substantial things there that got me established. However, now I'm at this point to where it's like, okay, let me be free now. You know what I'm saying? I paid my dues. Let me go do whatever it is that I want to go do now. Now, I can travel with the experience of establishing this fixed piece of art or whatever it is that I established here. And my name is going to be stamped everywhere I go with it. But at the same time, it needs to go somewhere else. It needs to be uprooted. It needs to be mutable. It needs to be over here now. It needs to be over there now. This creation needs to be sold over here now. This movie needs to be sold over here now. This fair needs to go overseas now. You get what I'm saying? This movie needs to be sold overseas now. We need the international edition, right? We need the subtitles to be in different languages. This is the Sagittarius part, but this is the mature part of the Aries. It's the mature part of the Aries. Right? This is the, okay, I don't care about the rules and the regulations anymore. We'll get the rules and the regulations figured out after we get there. You know what I'm saying? Had the people on the ground like, okay, we'll take the risk of getting a fine, right? But we need to do this. it's I just have to do it, right? That Sagittarius kind of reckless type of, I just have to do it. You know what I'm saying? We'll face the consequences or the repercussions later. And that whole Jupiter luck thing just happens to be able to carry it through. But for Aries, it's more of a, I would say anyway, that it's more of a progressive, and it's more of a potential to be lucky and land on your feet in that sense, because you've already established what it is that you do by spending enough time in the fixed part of Leo in your sign, right? Because you established that. So it's like, okay, the work ethic is there, because whenever Jupiter gets lucky from being reckless and, just feeling free and just feeling fun, Saturn doesn't like that. And it's just like, okay, well, we're gonna put some lessons in here for you to learn, right? Which is usually related to work ethic. So again, like I said, when an Aries goes through the Leo part, which has the fixed focus on what it is that they're actually doing, and it might be that one thing, then Saturn has no other choice but to say, well, okay. Now, I'm not saying you're just going to be free to be Sagittarian all around the world with it, but that's the mature part of the Aries. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's going to make you sit right at the seat of your soul. Now, with the earth element that I described, it's more simpler to understand how the earth signs can suffer should they not excel into the maturity of their signs. With this sign, it might be some possible things that can also be attached to this as well, because I've spoken about how Sagittarius could have some depressive bouts with them as well, right? So, but this would be more along the lines of someone who is a Sagittarius, or the Sagittarius part of your chart that begins in Sagittarius, right? The first 10 degrees, you might feel that more of an impact than an Aries would when they excel to the Sagittarius part of their chart, because it's the mature part of their chart. You get what I'm saying? So let me think, right? Like, the Cobbler explanation was a good example, but I want to get to this simulation thing, right? Because the simulation is simulation is this. It's like an imitation of the real thing, or it could be seen as this, like a model of an example that you want to bring to life. So it's kind of like if you had this idea to create life on Earth, right? And in order to do so, you grab the piece of paper, you grab the pen, and you started drawing it down on paper. And then the next thing you know, like, you draw a building, you look outside of the window, the building is being built. There's construction workers all outside, and they're building your building that you're actually drawing on a piece of paper. That's what a simulation is, right? So I say that to say this. Is anything, I don't believe any planets is in Aries right now, so it's going to be kind of like challenging to do this on that note. But I guess we could look at Jupiter being inside of Sagittarius. Nah, I don't want to do that. That's too confusing. But this is what I'll do. I'll give you some homework. You know what I'm saying? When something gets in Aries, like the moon will be in Aries soon enough before anything else will, probably. So when the moon gets inside of Aries, I want you to do some homework, right? Look at when the moon is going to be in the first 10 degrees of Aries. And you can test this for yourself. Don't let me just tell you that this is the truth and there's no other way. No, do this for yourself so you can understand. I'm just going to give you the education so you can apply it when the time comes. So let me do a breakdown of the moon rather quickly. The moon, when it travels through a sign, is going to take about 3 days to go through each sign. Just about, right? So the first 10 degrees, same thing applies to with the moon, any planet going through. The first 10 degrees is going to be applied to Aries. So pretty much the first day that the moon enters Aries is going to be all Aries characteristics. You're going to feel the influence of those characteristics. The next day, you're going to feel more Leo characteristics being involved. Your ego may jump up. You may even notice yourself or notice it being exercised. And if you don't feel it within yourself necessarily, you may be doing more observing that day. So you won't even have the level of interaction to understand whether you're being egotistical or not. But if you can look out your window, or you can go inside of a fast food establishment, whatever restaurant that you go to, right? Go inside of a store, you may see somebody expressing their ego to the heights of its capacity, and you're like, there it goes. There it goes. So what I'm explaining to you with that point is that that's a simulation. Now, you may not be able to fathom it because it's just like, nah, that's life, that's reality. You're bugging, kid. But I'm telling you, just think about it, all right? Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I'm right. Or maybe it's just some truth to it, and it depends on a person's perception. But if you see something like that, and I'm telling you this beforehand, and let's say the day gets here, I should have looked it up on the ephemeris, right? I'm gonna look up. This is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna really do it this time. I'm gonna look it up on the ephemeris the day that the moon goes into Aries next, so y'all can do this homework, right? And I'm gonna put it in the description box. So if I'm telling you this beforehand, and then you go outside or wherever you are when the moon enters Aries, and you experience these things, and then the moon gets into Leo, and you see people being egotistical and more prideful and stuff like that. And then when it gets to Sagittarius, you may ear hustle, you may hear things of travel, long distance travel, you may hear things of spiritual beliefs, you may hear a debate about spiritual beliefs or how spirituality is better than this, and all of the materialistic things, you'll give it all away just so you can go travel the earth and like go somewhere where there's no Wi-Fi. If you hear any of these types of things while the moon is going through Aries, let me know. And then tell me, do you think this is a simulation? And if this is a simulation, who designed it? And can you prevent it from occurring? Can you stop this from happening? Is it going to spook you out to the point where you don't even want to go anywhere? Or you might start pulling the wool over the cameras on everything. You might shut all of your devices off. You may not answer the phone. Or are you going to be able to embrace this and say, you know what, this has been happening the whole entire time? Think about it. I mean, I've done things now. I done research to pinpoint things that like a theme that keeps reoccurring every year. When you look at the ephemeris, it's like, oh, it's because these planets were here, these planets were here at this time during this season, and that's why this theme keeps reoccurring. And it doesn't become so strange. It just becomes for me, it becomes factual that this is a simulation. And even more, like for you creatives out there, right? Personally, this is what happened with me. I've designed a song before and the lyrics came true, right? So that's a form of designing your own simulation. So for all of those other artists out there or creating things and they've seen, people prophesize and stuff like that, that's an example of a simulation. You designing a desire, or sometimes people, I guess, don't even realize the height or the extent of what they're doing when they're creating art. They just do it naturally. They don't have no intent or an aware intent, and things just happen to them. Sometimes wild stuff happens to people and it's just like, oh. But my point is, if you can design at that level and bring things into fruition, then is that or is that not a simulation? And if that can be done, are you going to design the next human being? All right, I don't want to get too strange on y'all. But think about what I'm saying, right, y'all? I hope this video helps somebody. I hope this series helps people, right? So you can identify with your element, whether it's air, earth, fire, and water. But moreover, so you identify with the different signs of the qualities. Cardinal, mutable, and fixed. So with that being said, I'm out of here. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Later.